Hey there and welcome back to We Don't Do Boring, Andy's podcast. And this is my spot on the little blue and green dot. Yes, it belongs to all of us really, doesn't it? So what are we going to be discussing? Well, the 6 fundamentals. I thought I'd go through them because I've heard a lot of discussion. Well, not discussion really, more like shouting. About various things and the way they're portrayed. How we portray things. So this episode is going to be about the 6 core things that I talk about, but it's going to be about how your experience can lead you to better forms of every single one. And I know a big shout out to Marg, a good friend of mine over there in England, and I owe her something because years ago I used to wonder why people made crazy decisions, including, we were talking about our children mainly, and and she said, well, it's a well-known fact that until you're over 25 plus, your brain hasn't actually developed the cognitive abilities to make the correct decisions because literally you haven't been on the planet long enough to form those links. And I'm like, wow. I said, where did that come from? She said, it's not a made-up thing, it's a fact. And of course it's a fact because you haven't got any experience. Well, there you go. So it's more about the 6 cores today and how they've been affected lately by what I've been doing and what I've been listening to. So there are some links in the description below from fabulous people who give balanced views. And also talk about subjects that are close to my heart. And one of them was the value of a working man or woman. And that was a very interesting short on YouTube. The link's below. Check them out. And of course, at this stage, subscribe and press the notification bell for more videos from my channel. And there's a lot of them about all sorts of subjects. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to talk about the 6 fundamentals. So experience. And I found that, as Mark pointed out, the younger generation, experience is only gained by 2 things, really, in my life. It's been listening, which I was extremely bad at when I was younger, and then following experience. People following experienced design, following experienced knowledge, know-how, literally, because I work with my hands, so seeing other people do things, fantastic. I don't want to learn how to do everything. That's not what I do. So as I've discussed before. But your experience is gained by listening mainly. If you listen more carefully to both sides of the story. Okay, and this is one of the things where experience is lacking at the moment. We have this very polarized, one-sided story, and somebody talks about shouting below in the link, one of the linked videos, and they talk about communication and discussion and having a conversation. And it's rare you can do that and have a really good conversation with people these days about stuff that is in the vogue space or renewable energy or whatever it is, security, the way the country's manufacturers go in the recession, inflation, whatever you want to do. I mean, I don't talk about politics and religion. In my experience, all those discussions start with one side, and they're always one-sided. If you're at the political arena and the religious arena, it's always one-sided. So I just don't discuss those because I heard a term the other day. It's called a reactionary video. So if I react to somebody else's video, it's a reaction video. And I thought, wow, why would I want to make one of those? Probably get more views if I had my opinion and just stuck it in your face. But that's not what we're here for, here to discuss experience. So experience is by listening and also by following experience. It's very simple. Communication is always a balance. Okay, communication begins with listening. Listening is a skill in communication. The balance is listening to both sides of the story. Okay, if you don't have both sides of the story and people are just shouting their opinion at you, well, that's an argument, isn't it? We've discussed this in a previous video. How do you tell whether it's a discussion or an argument? Well, are people prepared to listen to other opinion and discuss the opinions? If they're not prepared to discuss the opinions because they've only got one and that's it, well, that's an argument. It can turn into an argument unless you walk away. And I do that now when I've got nothing to say to somebody and they're not listening at all to any side of the story, and they haven't got the facts to back it up. I found a lot of people who shout about one side of the story don't have the facts about what actually went on. It's just, they watch the short video and then they got an opinion and boom, that's it. There's no factual development. There's no research. And I don't like that. Communication, you have to know what you're talking about. All right. One of the things I pride myself on is actually knowing whether people know what they're talking about within a few minutes of starting a conversation with them. It's a depressing thing sometimes, because when you get your 5 minutes in thinking, oh no, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, because I have experience to know what I do and how long it's going to take and what's going to happen with it. And in the tourist industry, especially where I live in the tourist industry, and then people have these very strange opinions, and you're thinking, oh no, they've never dealt with this. They've come from somewhere else and think that model transfers to us, and it doesn't. We live in a very, very strange niche little place which has developed its own personality over the years, and I love it. That's why I like it. But at the same time, when new people move in, they really have to adjust, and it's quite funny after a few months when you meet them and listen to their opinions again. But I realize that, by listening, I can communicate better, I suppose. Well, I have to, because I then know that they haven't got the level of knowledge, so I alter my questions to them about what they want or about what they're thinking, to take that into account, to take into account that they don't have the level of knowledge I do. So, whilst being nice about it, because Andy has been accused over the years of, somebody would point out that you get far more with honey, Andy, than you do with vinegar. Because my opinion was right, and I knew my facts were straight, but it was the way I put things. I wasn't very good at putting things across in a manner that gave all sides a chance to realize or to understand what I was talking about. It was a bit my way or the highway, but it wasn't wrong. I mean, I was right because I'd already done the job before and I knew what I was doing, but it was my presentation. So communication is about presentation. You've only got one chance to make a good impression, or a good first impression. And, so that's communication. So you have to have both sides of the story. And it's, yeah, you do. You have to have both sides of the story. Let's take, for example, renewables. Okay, renewable energy. And this is, I bring this up because we have a lot of windmills in Texas. In fact, 14% of our grid is powered by wind. Okay, and people get frustrated. I've been in so many cars and I've listened to so many discussions where people see windmills that are not moving and they say, look at that, what a waste of time. Why do they do those things? They don't do anything. They just sit there and do nothing. Well, on the other side of the story is that where you're going to put it. All the energy that the, tens of thousands of windmills we have in Texas, if there is no demand for the power, where's it going? We're going to put it in a box? Oh, I know, we'll use a battery. Fantastic. Great idea. Let's use a battery. And we all know about those big batteries you can put on your houses and how expensive they are. Imagine batteries big enough to power a city or a subdivision. They'd have to be pretty big, right? Well, they cost a lot of money at the moment because battery technology has not kept up with our design of renewable energy, I'm afraid. And it's just one of those things. We're just not there yet, We haven't been smart enough to invent a battery that can be produced quickly and at low cost to power cities, use and store the energy we use from all our renewable cycles. We've got wind, wave, solar, okay? And we can't store the energy if we don't need it. So, at the same time as building power stations or windmills, they should be putting battery packs in to store the power. Then it can be released when we need it. Well, they won't do that because it's a cost issue. They want to make money from windmills. They don't want to spend money. Good grief. That'd be a terrifying idea, wouldn't it? But that's the only way renewable energy is going to work. So when they build huge solar farms and huge wind farms, they should also... The other side of the story is to make that work effectively, you need a massive storage capacity, huge, massive. So that's why communication has a balance. It's got two sides, and you have to know both sides. So it's no good screaming about electric cars, right? The reason I haven't got electric cars is I live in Texas. The distances are huge. Electric cars, I'd have to stop and recharge. I'd also have to pay for that. Yes, I'm not paying for gas, but I have a small gas-driven car because I need to do longer journeys in that to save money, and I have a big old diesel truck. For you who don't know, diesel is a byproduct of gas, so I don't know why it's more expensive. I use that because I pull a trailer with £15,000 on it. So I need that power and that torque to pull the trailer. It's a single practical reason for having a huge truck. It's not because oh yeah, I've got a big truck. I mean, no, it does its job. You know, that's what it's there for, is to pull heavy loads and to go and collect things. All right. So the electric car thing doesn't apply to me because it's not physically possible for me to use the car. It'd be a waste of my time and money. I can't afford the expensive electric car, and also it's a waste of my time and money because I'd have to keep stopping, and I haven't got the time to stop. So it's a balance. But if I was in a city and I was using, going 5 miles to work every day from my apartment straight into the city, I actually wouldn't have an electric car at all. I'd buy an electric scooter because that's the fastest way to get around a city. So anyway, there we go. So renewables, there's two sides to every story. Communication has to be a balance, and you have to have both sides. So it's without both sides, I don't waste my time. So time is the next thing we're coming on to. Is the balance that I want to achieve worth my time? Am I earning enough money? Do I need to compromise to get to save time and money? Do I need to get a better job to save time? Sounds crazy, doesn't it? You can save time with a better job because you'll be more efficient. So there you go. If you're running around like a headless chicken, been there, done that, all day, and you're not very efficient, you're wasting your time, and that means you're wasting your money. So time is a balance, I always remember years ago, I turned up at a work site which was a good 30, 40 miles from my house, and I didn't bring my grinder for finishing. I forgot it. I left it, whatever. And I only had my chainsaws, and I thought, right, okay, well, this is more than a one-day job anyway. I'll go home and get it. And I thought, don't be stupid. It's 40 miles, you're wasting 2 hours. So I thought, no. And so I just roughed out all the things I need to do. I ripped them out with a chainsaw and got them as close as I could for sanding. But I made 4 or 5 things. And at the end of the day, I had a great day because I wasn't worried about all the finishing on them. I was just ripping out the shapes in order to get them ready for sanding. And I brought the sander the next day and I finished 5 pieces, whereas most of the time I would have finished 3. So I was actually more efficient. So after that day, I realized that I was wasting my time and I altered what I did. I didn't forget my grinder again either. Anyway, so it's just mistakes I've made which have made me more successful, and which did make me more successful because I realized how much I could achieve in a day by not thinking about finishing, just getting out the shape. Okay, so my time is a balance of what's worth doing, how much money I'm going to earn, whether I want to do that, whether it's a passion time, a downtime, relaxation. Time is very important to me because I'm older. So there you go. So money, it makes the world go round, right? Yeah, and we all like saving money. I mean, you've got to figure out what you're saving it for first. I mean, I know a person at the moment who did the whole Nirvana thing. They bought the house, they looked after the house, they wait until the top of the market, they sold the house, they got a big pile of money in the bank. Not particularly a big pile of money if you want to retire, but they live very, very frugally, and they've done that all their life, but they've got no idea what to do now. None at all. They lived in a bubble for a long time, realized that they could financially, it was great to do all these things, and then they've got to a place where they don't know what to do. They got a bank full of money and they got no idea how to spend it because they've not got any passions that they follow. And and there's 2 separate people like this, and it's depressing, really. I mean, I try and talk to them about it and say there must be something that really makes you happy. Or fulfills you, but it really is. It's hard to find what motivates them. The one person is it's extremely difficult. I've known her for years, and there's just nothing. So I mean, I don't feel sorry for them, but I think that it must be hard to live like that. I've always had passions. I've always followed things. I've always wanted to do things. I've always got I'm self-motivated. So I really feel for them. But and now they've got money, they don't even know what to do with it, which is hilarious. It's like, people who retire and then they don't last very long because they haven't got a job. Their job's been their whole life. And when they stop working, as it were, every day going to work, they just lose all focus. They lose all drive. They lose motivation. Even if they can travel, go on vacation, it's just not like working. They just can't change gears, which is what we talked about again, changing lanes. You really have to get prepared for retirement. If you want to retire properly and go and do the things, your passions and folly and stuff. I know another couple who planned it perfectly. You know, they've got money, they moved. They weren't in the right location to enjoy all their passions, so they moved to a whole other part of the country. And so they're within an hour, 90 minutes of everything they love. And it's fantastic, and they have a fantastic life, and they're very motivated to go and enjoy themselves. Now they're retired. They worked all their lives. They put the kids through colleges and did all that stuff, and they're very motivated. So I've got both. I've got balance. I've got both sides of the story. People who've got money and got no idea what to do with it, and people who've got money and know exactly what to do with it. And that's fascinating to me, especially when I communicate with them, because you think, wow, two completely polar opposites, but they both have money. So my life isn't driven by money. I need money to survive, but I don't aspire to be rich or wealthy or you know, I just need enough, and that's it. I mean, I haven't got it's not one of my motivations, I'm afraid. So but there's one of my motivations is doing a good job and providing value, and I think I do that. I provide other people with value for their money. And there's a great video on values and how we're not teaching anything, to the younger generation about work, about real physical work and physical labour and hands-on construction and doing all the other stuff. It's by a guy called Waller, Jay Waller. He's in the description below, and it really lit my thinking. And I thought, wow, that guy's absolutely right. But take a look at that and see what you think. And I don't watch all his other stuff. He's got hundreds of videos. And I don't want sound bites of opinion, but that one popped up. Somebody sent it to me and said, this is you, about the value of hard work and physical work. And I thought, yeah, it is me. And he made a great point that we are declining in our value of physical work. So anyway, there you go. So that's about money. Now, balance. How does balance fit into this life? Well, life's balance is precarious. Like I've just said, time and money, experience, compromise, there's always a balance. Every time there's a balance. Like in a discussion, having communication with people, there's a balance. There's two sides, right? Whether one side's right or wrong or the other way right, it doesn't matter. There's always a balance to be found. And that comes from experience, obviously. Young people don't see a balance. They only see what's put in front of their eyes. So if you're a great parent and you teach your children values and manners and hard work and reward comes from work and all the basic family values that we used to teach, it's fantastic. And you can see the difference in those children. Believe you me, I work with fantastic families all day, but you can see the difference. So if you the balance comes from great teaching, listening. But again, under 25-year-olds, they haven't got the cognitive ability to form great decisions because they've got no experience. Well, that's down to us. That's down to a parent to provide your child with the experiences that will help them get through life. And that's just a no-brainer. I used to tell my kids, I was hard on my children, and because I wanted them to realize how hard life was. And at first, they resented it. Of course, the children, they haven't got the experience. But when they moved into real life and got past 25 and got to 30, they realised exactly what I was talking about. And they all thanked me. They all said, yeah, without you preparing us, Dad, we would have been, in dire straits. And they still know people whose parents didn't do that. And they're different. And they've got children of their own as well, and they're different because they're growing up like they grew up. It's for like father, like son. And my son had a discussion with one of his friends, and he said, "What are you teaching your little boy?" And he said, "What do you mean teaching him? I mean, you've got to teach him some values. You've got to teach him physical work. You've got to teach him how life works." Well, he's just a kid. Well, right. And your experience is going to be transferred to that child, and that's very, very important. So balance, the balance between fun and work is what a child is about. Absolutely. They can have fun all day long as they work for it. You got to work that fun. So, because a lot of it now is just everything's entertainment. It's a soundbite. It's a little video. It's, oh, look what he did. And it's a laugh. And then 2 seconds later, they move on to the next one. Well, you don't actually learn anything. Well, you learn how stupid people can be, which is what Waller's video is about as well. But yeah, it's balance in life is how much work do you have to do to have fun? Yeah, my motorcycle costs money. It's my passion. I have fun on my motorbike, right? But it costs a lot of money. right? But I paid for it a long time ago, so at the moment it owes me nothing. Yeah, right. So I mean, that's the thing. It's how much fun you take from, and how much work you're prepared to put in to have fun. If you want a jet ski or a boat or a pair of water skis or you want to go skiing twice a year, or you want to whatever. It's how much work you have to do to have that fun, and it's always a balance. You might not have the time off. That's why I'm self-employed. I like the way I can balance my time with what I have to do, but I also can choose the time that I want to do it. So that's why I'm self-employed. But of course, if you don't work, you don't get any money. Very simple. Again, it's a balance. So also the balance, the reason I've said before, I don't discuss politics and religion, because every side is right. Every side, every political side and every religious side is right. They're all right about themselves. Oh, no, this is the way it is. One of the things I used to listen to, which started me down this sort of path many years ago of listening more carefully, was a thing called Thought for the Day. It used to be on a program called Radio 4, which is a radio program in England, and it was Thought for the Day, and it was usually presented by a priest or a rabbi, or sometimes a business leader, but most of the time somebody from the religious fraternity. But it was a thought for the day, so they would cross over. It was a rabbi talk about Catholics. If it was a Catholic, he'd be talking about Hindus, and but he wouldn't be talking about that. He'd be talking about his thought for the day and how people view that thought, that thinking, and it would just be for you to think about, because it was the thought for the day. And it was fascinating sometimes. I was blown away. I thought, what am I doing here, sitting in a van listening to a priest or a rabbi or whatever it was, a business leader, spouting on about, this is my thought for the day, why are we doing this, or look what happened and why did that happen. And I think but look at the balance around us, look at the views around us. A lot of people have, but and they would quote scripture sometimes, but most of the time it was about the thought for the day, and I like that because it presented balance. So there we go. Now, compromise, big thing in life. Do you compromise your time? Do you compromise your experiences through lack of time? Do you compromise your communication through impatience? Do you compromise your ability to earn money by making choices? Of course you do. If you follow your passion, you won't make as much money as you just grind it out and go to work just for the money. And some people, that's their thing. They go to work for the money and that's it. I personally view my services as providing value. So I'm more expensive, so I don't get as many bookings as I probably should. I also don't advertise. I don't use the big systems to keep pushing my stuff, because I'm in a niche market in a niche location, and the big marketing rules just don't apply to me. Because I'm throwing money into the air and hoping it lands on somebody who crosses the bridge to the island. So if they're not traveling, they're not doing. And at the moment, there's a recession, the economy's in trouble, and people aren't traveling. It's a lot slower these days. So I don't know what your business is like, but comment below if you've got any sort of business and you're finding it different. That's different. I know my coffee went from $4 to $6, so I'm not very happy about that. Inflation's pretty rampant, but it's just one of those things. It's an economic thing. And again, it's a balance. So then I had to start shopping online, which I don't really like doing. I mean, if I'm passing a store, I'll go in and have a look around and buy locally if I can. But I had to start shopping online in order to save money, because it was stupid not to. And I also buy more than I need now immediately, because I can save money by doing that. So yeah, it's a compromise for me, really. I'd much rather go and have a sprot around. There's a word, sprot. Have a sprot around and see what's out, but I haven't got the time to do that anymore because I'm busy making podcasts and doing all sorts of things. But I try not to waste my time. I've got a terrible problem with procrastination. I'm extremely good at that. Yes, and because it helps you with coffee. Look, coffee. Coffee. It helps you with coffee. So coffee, procrastination, compromise. Why do we need compromise? Well, it's a skill. And why is compromise a skill? Because it is the number one thing in communication, besides listening and all the other things, and negotiation. If you're going to negotiate something, you better know the art of compromise, I can tell you that. Because if you can't compromise in some way and see the other person's opinion and then move your opinion to compromise slightly both sides, you won't be able to negotiate anything. I know people who can't negotiate their way out of a paper bag. They are absolutely terrible. Whatever people say, they just accept it. And I just go, well, why didn't you work a bit harder on that, you know? And you could have done better. You could have got a better deal monetarily. But, you know, the guy just dictated terms and that was it. There was no compromise in it. You just take it or leave it. Well, if somebody says that to me, take it or leave it. If there's no discussion involved and they just say, well, this is what we got, take it or leave it. If I'm absolutely desperate for that thing that I need, well, I have to take it. But that doesn't happen very often. That's a very short conversation in my eyes. I don't do that. Take it or leave it. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it and I'm going to work around it. And because I don't want to be forced into a corner where there's no discussion and there's no compromise. If there's no compromise, if the person's selling left-handed magnesium widgets and he's the only guy in the Americas selling them, well, there you go. There is no compromise because you have to buy them from him. But we have so many choices now that I don't have to. Somebody says, take it or leave it. And okay, I'll leave it then. And then they look and go, what? Well, I'll leave it. I don't, you know. Yeah, the price is slightly too much for me or whatever. The delivery time's no good. I need a lot more from you than that. And so I'll leave it. Okay. It doesn't happen very often. Very, very rare now. Because I don't start conversations like that. And also do my research before I show up. Yeah. By communicating with experienced people. So there you go. So, but your negotiating skills come from the ability to recognize and deliver compromise. It's very, very important. I don't compromise my lessons. If somebody wants to do, they turn up and they want to do something, I explain to them what's involved. And yeah, okay, you don't want to build a castle, you want to build something else? Great. That's fantastic. I love it. I love new creative people who want to do something different. They've watched all the videos, they've practiced sandcastles, now they want to build a horse. Okay. Well, my job is to make them happy. My job is to make them smile. My job is to let them have a good experience. So I explain to them what's involved in building a horse, and then off we go. Fantastic. They're happy. I'm happy. You know, it's a change of scene, change of pace. So it's great. But yeah, I have to compromise. I don't want to do that. I want to build a castle because I love building sandcastles, right? And so that's it. You know, but you have to compromise. It's a very, very important part of the art of negotiation and communication. Okay, and both sides depend on it. If you can negotiate using a compromise, both sides will come closer together very quickly. You give somebody something they want, just a little bit of it, just a little bit of what they want, and they'll come to your side much, much faster. Not that they have to be on your side, but it gets you to the middle. Two sides aiming for the middle, and they're apart, and one little compromise will bring you almost together. And it's amazing. I've seen that in action. I watched somebody negotiate something for me once. Because they could see I was losing my way when I wasn't a very good communicator, and they stepped in and said, allow me. And I said, by all means. And because I was a bit fed up by then, and they said, right. And they took both sides' opinion and they said, right, you want to do this and this and you want to deliver this, and this gentleman has already got a track record of delivering this and this. The results are very, very good because I know about them. And you want to do this, but you only want to do it this way. Well, that way doesn't work with the transportation systems, with the timing, and several other things don't line up. So if we can just line up the timings, your operation would be a lot faster, and Mr. Hancock could compromise on what he was doing to accommodate you better. And the guy just turned straight around and came into the conversation and said, well, what's really the problem is... And I couldn't get there because I wasn't giving him that bridge. And the lady just, bang, did it straight away. And I was very impressed. And I made one little compromise. And I also agreed to help him with 2 other projects, which he had. And job was done. But if I'd have kept going like I was, not compromising, not having good communication, not experience of balance, I would have been in trouble. So there you go. So I was rescued. Thank you. But the links to some excellent visions are below. All right, I hope you take a look at them because they're fantastic. The one on conversation is very funny, and the one on listening is always excellent. I love that guy. And there's another guy called Matt Farrell, and we're talking about a person who's gaining experience. He's not as old as me, but he does his research. He's a great communicator, very effective. He doesn't waste your time or your money. The videos are short, and he will tell you how much things cost. He's very honest. especially he's been building his own house. And he always presents a balanced view. He puts all the objectives in there, and that's why the show is called Undecided with Matt Farrell. And I like it because he presents a balanced view, and I can think about what he said, and then I can write to him and say, hey, I like this bit, but how did you do this part? If there's something missing for me, I just write to him, and he'll reply, which I'm very happy about. He's got thousands, millions of followers probably. So there we go. That's what it's all about this week. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you can give me some subjects that I can talk about that relate to you and how you want to apply something, or you've got a problem. I mean, that's great. I love fixing stuff, except the notification bell, which I've started smashing now because I've got fed up of all the people saying, smash the bell. We are going to do a funny video on that soon because I've realized that's what people want to hear. So, and, I'm compromising my press the bell. So there you go. So remember that creation always begins with destruction. Okay, that's a compromise too. And and always remember, we don't do boring. So, and to subscribe and click the bell, smash the bell, smash the bell, right? So do that, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Love your comments. Keep them coming in, and please share the video. Bye.